So commercial real estate is anything that is not residential real estate. So when you think of residential real estate, you think of single family homes. But an interesting thing is that residential real estate is classified as a single family home in any complex, any residential complex up to 4 units. Any complex beyond 4 units or 5 units is considered commercial. Beyond that, I kind of call them the commercial real estate food groups. So you have your office, which is basically just office buildings. Beyond that, you have industrial. So industrial buildings are buildings that have warehouses. Maybe someone has a manufacturing or machining shop. So that's group number 2. Group number 3 is retail. Strip malls that you see all over, big box malls like Walmart, and major stores like Bloomingdale's. Those would all be considered the retail group of the class. And the last group is multifamily. So as I mentioned before, anything above 5 units for residential real estate is considered a commercial real estate asset class. So big apartment complexes would be one example. A 5-unit small complex as well would be another example. So retail, office, industrial, and multifamily constitute the main food groups of commercial real estate. Well, one of the main allures of real estate for business owners is, the example that I often give to business owners is you're taking a percentage, if you are leasing a space, you're taking a percentage of the monthly amount that you pay in rent and converting that into equity. So you have your principal and you have your interest when you're paying down debt on real estate. But one of the beautiful things about owning a piece of commercial real estate, particularly as an owner-user of a business, is that principal is being converted slowly into equity into your business. So you're building wealth within the business while you're operating there as well. Another interesting thing is you can depreciate real estate. So the depreciation aspects of real estate can be alluring to businesses. You can write it off on your taxes. I believe for a commercial asset, it's a 39-year straight line depreciation.
Correct.
So that's another real allure of real estate. And then the third one is you can control your operating costs. Here in Orange County, commercial real estate, the inventory is very low and it is relatively expensive. But if you are patient and wait out over time, you are going to, on a square foot basis, have a more stable rental income by paying down that principal and interest as opposed to if you're just paying rent. So you're essentially able to control your operating costs, your occupancy costs in that fashion. And, payroll number 1 and rent number 2 are primarily some of the biggest line item expenditures for any business. So your ability to increase the equity in your building, build wealth, control your operating costs, and control your business are some of the major benefits for an owner, user, and occupier of commercial real estate. And, one of the cool things about real estate, and you see this especially because there's a lot of entrepreneurial people in Orange County particularly, a lot of small to mid-sized businesses. It is a great estate planning asset for your children. We see this all the time, especially on the industrial side. You have, a 15 or 20,000 square foot fee simple standalone building. Well, when that building's paid off in 30 years and, the principals of the company retire, they may leave it to their children and that building becomes re-rented and it becomes a source of cash flow for their kids. So it's a beautiful thing to leave to your children or your spouse or someone else. Once the building's paid off, it may have, an equity of, just as an example, $3 to $5 million, and it throws off, X number in dollars in cash flow a month. So it's really a cool investment vehicle for the long term and a practical one in the immediate term for your business needs. Kind of the quick and dirty back of the napkin tool to assess the value of a piece of real estate in a given commercial market is cap rate, or the capitalization rate. And essentially what the cap rate is, it's the net operating income divided by the assessed market value of the property, and that will give you a rate of return. The capitalization rate, across asset classes in Orange County right now is, between 3.5% to 4.5%. So it's relatively low, but that is kind of one of the first things that a lot of people do is they'll ask, what is the cap rate? Number 2, people will ask, what are the comps? So, comps are a significant tool, and people that have purchased a home as well will have the same tools. The comps are essentially what prices commercial real estate has sold at in a nearby area with comparable, amenities for the property. So, if a piece of industrial real estate is sold for $235 a square foot down the block from you, as long as that property is of a similar nature, built in a similar time period, and has a similar amenities, you can reasonably assume that that property is going to be about $235 or $240 a square foot. Now, obviously, there are some extenuating circumstances to that, but those are some basic guidelines that can help guide real estate investors. Another thing that you have to consider, especially from an investing standpoint, is the financing of real estate itself. As an owner-user, if you qualify, you can get an SBA loan for 10% down, which is significant, and that's wonderful. For an investor, it's going to cost you a lot more. The loan-to-value ratio on a investment piece of real estate that is a solid piece of real estate that the bank has underwritten and done their due diligence on is going to be, 75%. So the loan-to-value of 75% means that you have a down payment of 25%. Even on $1 million piece of property, that's $250,000. So that's a significant chunk of change. So those are things you have to kind of consider when you're going into it. But as a general rule, the metrics that we use initially to look at real estate are the capitalization rate and then recent comps in the area to make a determination as to value, and then you can go from there to determine what your financing options are.